the right side of the plane. Fogarty turned on his camera and they began filming.
Those two lights appear to be travelling with us. They're still off the starboard wing. The brighter light is still above the other and is moved a little further ahead of the other. It's extremely bright, much brighter than any of the other stars in the sky.
Ground radar observed the objects, and the control tower confirmed the sighting and recorded the conversation. What follows is the actual audio of this unusually well-documented event.
The storm chart is showing at 11 o'clock at 3 miles. Left at 9 o'clock at 3 miles.
Captain Startup said that the object, or target, was initially ahead of him, then travelled at an unbelievable speed past his left side. He quickly banked the plane left in an attempt to make visual contact. From the ground, Wellington Air Traffic radioed a chilling message to the captain. They had picked up yet another target on his left side, and this one was closing in on the plane.
12 o'clock at 3 miles.
I'm now looking over towards the right of the aircraft, and we have an object confirmed by running radar. It's been following us for quite a while. It's about 4 miles away, and it looks like a very faint star, but then it emits a very bright white green light.
Captain Startup was able to get close enough to determine that the object had an array of bright blue lights, pulsing at a rapid rate. To his shock, the object had increased in size.
There was an interesting radar event where the some object got so close to the aircraft that looked to Wellington radar as if the aircraft radar target image had doubled in size.
Strong target, right in formation with you now. Your target has doubled in size.
The double-sized target continued to appear on radar screens for 36 seconds, then returned to its original size.
The blue light's right there. This is the object which was apparently traveling along with the aircraft. It was picked up on aircraft radar.
Dr. Bruce Maccabee received a 16mm copy of the Argosy UFO film directly from the Australian television network in 1979.
Roll 4, take 10.
The complete and unedited film has never been made available before. Experts believe that these images are the most comprehensive and frightening UFO evidence ever captured on film.
This is the famous New Zealand film obtained the night of December 31st, 1978. The cameraman is sitting in the seat between the pilot and the co-pilot. The image is dancing around because he was carrying it on his shoulder. They saw this light to their right. And this light, as time goes on, will fade in and out, takes on various shapes. This is the flashing light that you have to slow down and look at frame by frame to see what happens. When it goes from very bright white down to dim orange, you can see the image went over to the side, then he turned the camera a little bit in order to pull it back into the center.
That other target that has been following us has now been joined by 2 others, so we now, at this stage, have 3 unidentified flying objects just off our right wing, and they've been following us, or one of them's been following us now for probably about 10 minutes. I'm one of hoping really that we've seen enough tonight, and the rest of our journey back to Berlin will be uneventful. I think I've just spoken enough of UFOs for one night.
And that's the way it is. Or is it? Monday, January 1st, 1979. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News.
Pilot sightings of UFOs are not exclusive to Earth's atmosphere. In the early 1960s, as America and the Soviet Union escalated the space race, astronauts and cosmonauts began to witness strange and unexplained objects and events in outer space.
You know, in 1958, when NASA formed, they literally expected to make contact with extraterrestrial life.
3, 2,
The 4th of December, 1965. 4 hours and 24 minutes into their historic 14-day mission, the astronauts of Gemini 7, Frank Borman and James Lovell, both military test pilots, were performing routine tasks. Suddenly, at 22:34 Greenwich Mean Time, with the capsule high above Hawaii, both men saw a bright object, or bogey, flying above their capsule. Borman radioed Mission Control in Houston. What follows are the actual audio transmissions.
Loud and clear. 7, go ahead. I'm talking with 10 o'clock high. This is Houston. Say again, 7. We have a bogey at 10 o'clock high.
The recording ends suddenly. NASA insisted that the sighting was Gemini's Titan booster rocket. Lovell replied that he could see the booster as well as, quote, several actual sightings.
I remember hearing this on my car radio, talked to NASA, and they confirmed that that was the phrase used, we have a bogey in sight.
In NASA's official Gemini 7 mission report, published in January 1966, no mention was made of the infamous bogey recording. Neither Lovell nor Borman have ever commented publicly on this subject.
But as far as the American public is concerned, NASA denies the very existence of UFOs they've been covering up since the dawn of spaceflight.
From the early years of the U.S. space program, NASA was beset with sighting reports from astronauts. The 13th of September 1966, Gemini 11 astronauts Richard Gordon and Charles Pete Conrad saw something strange on their 16th revolution of Earth, 27 hours and 47 minutes after liftoff. Conrad radioed ground control. He reported that he had just seen an unidentified object about 50 miles downrange. It was metallic and revolving at more than 1 revolution per second. He pulled out a camera and took 3 photographs. The object dropped down in front of them before quickly disappearing. These are the actual photographs taken by Conrad aboard Gemini 11.
And NORAD said that the only thing that they could imagine it was a booster from a Russian satellite. And the NASA people threw out the NORAD explanation almost immediately. The Gemini 11 case is the only one that NASA considers to be unidentified.
Gemini 11, however, was not the last NASA mission to have alleged encounters with UFOs. In fact, more and more UFO sightings were reported as Gemini gave way to the Apollo program.
The Apollo astronauts in particular were trailed by UFOs.
It is alleged that Neil Armstrong, saw UFOs. Many of the astronauts did, but they won't talk about it publicly yet, but they might.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
The famous Apollo 11 mission allegedly experienced objects tracking the capsule, as well as objects that were photographed by the astronauts on the moon's surface. 4 months later, on the 14th of November 1969, Apollo 12 commander Pete Conrad reported to NASA that he had seen an unidentified object from his window.
An object which is in the same place all the time but appears to be tumbling. Well, we've had it ever since yesterday. It just seems to be tagging along with us.
While the object was widely thought to be debris falling from the booster, many researchers remain skeptical. They suggest that debris would be incapable of tracking a fast-moving space capsule for an extended period of time. As the Apollo missions opened the door to the space shuttle program, experts were convinced the door had also been opened to an increased level of UFO activity in outer space. In 1981, NASA initiated the Space Shuttle program. With it came an unprecedented wave of UFO sightings, including astounding audio and video evidence. One highly controversial recording emerged from STS-29, a Space Shuttle Discovery flight on the 13th of March 1989. Astronaut John Blaha reported sighting something unusual.
One of the NASA transmissions that wasn't successfully sanitized, back in 1989, one of the astronauts on a space shuttle said, "We're still looking at the aliens." It was as plain as day.
The following recording was reportedly intercepted by an amateur radio operator in Maryland. To this day, NASA has neither confirmed nor denied the validity of this transmission.
The space shuttle has 2 radio channels. One is a public channel that we all hear when NASA is broadcasting. We can hear what the